Kia ora whānau, welcome to Taniwha Talks with TaniwhaTV. Tonight we have a very special subject tonight called Pride Month or Pride Week, however you guys want to say it. And then we have two beautiful guests tonight to help us with the subject is Nanus.
Kia ora.
And we have Raukawa Nanus.
Kia ora.
So tonight we have our talk about Pride Month, Pride Week, and can you ladies give us a little description on that and like how it started and what it's about and where it's going to take us, or what the whole idea around it is?
Well, from my knowledge, Pride Month or Pride Week was kind of started as more of a protest.
Stonewall.
Yeah, through Stonewall, because back in the days it was illegal to be gay or lesbian, and even trans wasn't even heard about back then as well. Yet in our cultures, we have history with takatapui, takaleiti, akapahine, all of them back in the days before colonialism. So we have a lot of I guess lineage and connections when it comes to our cultures. But for Pride Month, nowadays it's all about celebration.
Yeah.
Celebrating who we are and how far we've come. Yeah.
Sort of just to kind of jump on the coattails of that kōrero. It's a celebration of self-affirming identity, diversity, and a space. It's a spin on pride is all about the opposite of shame and stigma, which was associated with being part of the rainbow community for so many years. And it's really good to see that there are like Pride Month, I think is in the States in June this month.
Yes.
But for various places here in Aotearoa, it's like February for Auckland, Rotorua, Taupo has it in I think April.
So different times.
We have different times.
Different.
How come
Different.
it's like that? How come there's so many different time schedules?
I think because we're such a smaller demographic of people here in Aotearoa, you kind of, if you have them all happening at once, you might have like maybe 20 people in Christchurch, 10 people, 20 people in Wellington, so at least that way everyone can sort of move together as a unit to celebrate together and then move arohe.
That's
I think that, I could be wrong, but that's my take on it. It's like, you don't want to have it all at one go and then you only have like one person here.
It makes sense. It definitely makes sense.
It actually might turn into a Pride year.
Oh, really? Oh, really?
Depending on if you travel down the
Oh, yeah, true. You go
I would say,
1 week this time. Yep.
Actually, I think there is like one of the websites says like there is like a map that has like the month where it happens, what's going on in that, and then links to those various organisations that take part in Pride.
It must be quite fun though. Going down. What do you do at those shows?
9 times out of 10, I'm performing.
Yeah.
I'm on stage either hosting or singing or making up words to songs because I've chosen it and I've all of a sudden forgotten.
That's how I remember you. I met you at the Wānanga Aotearoa back at
Yes.
And you were up and coming dancer and now you're producing.
Yeah,
stage.
That was great. That was considering I wanted to be a psychologist before that, and then something happened and I ended up at Taiwha and that was it.
Awesome.
Because with you performing down there, I like what you said that being gay in the Māori community and the Pacific community is normal, totally normal. And I saw that at Taiwha. Lots of our whānau came from.
I remember there being, I think, at least 5 or 6 trans girls there who had come from smaller towns, out in the WAPs and stuff, and they weren't sure, but they found their place through and I'm going to credit the beautiful work of Auntie Elsie Rakuraku, Koronapi Waka, who provided a space for them to be them. And allowed them to flourish and grow and experience life in a positive way. It wasn't without its dramas, but ultimately the whole kaupapa was about enriching the lives of those of our rangatahi, regardless of who you are and regardless of how you see yourself and who you love, which was that was amazing. So massive credit to all of them.
And from going back to me, when it comes to like Pride Month, Pride Week, it's like a festival.
Yep.
It's like a festival of things. It's performing arts, all that sort of stuff. It could be art, it could be
films.
Yep.
It
could be something like that. And also in think it was 2020, for Rotorua Pride Month, I did do a Vogue Ball. A Vogue Ball is kind of like a night where everyone just comes and be who they are. We do like little competitions, who's got the best catwalk, who looks amazing in the theme that we put them in. Also face, and obviously Madonna Vogue. Well, obviously we do Vogue dancing as well. That's where it came from. Yes.
And so where was that from? What was that born out of? The history of the balls.
So the history of the balls actually came from the drag circuits that happened in America, probably around about the 1930s or 1920s. They were showgirls. Everyone started loving it, and then they created these competitions that came through it. And then I think from there, a trans woman named Crystal LaBeija, I think so, she did a competition. She was the first woman, or trans woman of colour, to compete in an all-white gay lesbian trans competition. But she got sucker punched. So yeah, there's a documentary about it, and you see her just going off. And that kind of created the Vogue Balls for people of colour. And then that started in the 1980s. And that's when, you know, the community was evolving, flourishing. Everything was really, really awesome. It was vibrant and all that sort of stuff. But then when the AIDS pandemic came in the 90s, that's when all our pioneers for that part of our community, they died off.
Wow. So, yeah, it was a scary time. You know, it was a time when sort of young rangatahi or in that space were coming out, and then they were being disowned by their families.
Sure.
So they went to the ball scene to find a sense of whānau. And stuff, and that's where you have things like houses, like the House of LaBeija, the House of Ninja, and all that stuff, because these whānau came together to provide a space of safety and growth for these rangatahi who were being, you know, marginalised and attacked. It was a really scary time for the community.
We had to go underground for a lot of these things because, again, it was still illegal back then.
I remember stories here. Of people in the 60s and 70s being done for the homosexual law for buggery. Yeah. And if they went to jail for that, they'd be cursed for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Assaulted often, and even if you're just assumed to be in a space or in an area of town that was known for that, you would be thrown in jail, no questions asked. So they would have like underground clubs where you would have a secret knock or a secret code word, and you'd go in there and there'd be all these clubs and you could meet and mingle with people, but because of the laws then you couldn't drink out of glasses. If you were seen to be drinking alcohol, you were also arrested. So they would have coffee mugs. They would have big coffee mugs that they would drink alcohol out of. And there are other stories that we sort of learned from some of our pakeke who handed them down. But you know, it was a massive, scary time for them back then.
Yeah.
So much hate going on. Do we have any kind of that community in New Zealand as well?
Yeah.
Like houses, as you were saying?
Well, we do have houses. We've got a house of Iman. So that's my good friend JC Taniwha. She's established that. Also, there are a few other Auckland. They're all from Auckland. We also got the House of Believe, who's in Wellington. And there's probably other houses around, though I'm trying to think on the top of my head.
Yeah, it's like, we had because I had a history of doing cabaret shows in Auckland when I sort of went out after leaving Taiwan and sort of like wanting to be right in that performing arts guild. I was doing singing and stuff for drag shows, but we'd have like burlesque performers and contortionists and you know, it's a full-on arts collective, and within that you would have drag houses or drag whānau. And so I belong to the House of Da Vinci, which is
sounds fancy.
From one of our beautiful pioneers, Chanel Da Vinci, and she had come from the Southside Sisters, which was a whole lot of drag performers, trans and otherwise, who, because at the time mainstream drag wasn't allowing them out of South Auckland.
Yeah.
That's what I mean, mainstream drag.
Yeah, mainstream drag. So like everyone on Queen Street and stuff with the K Road at the time. We're like, no, we're not too sure that you're going to be what we need and things like that. And so they established their own place. They had a little club called Characters in South Auckland, and they would do these full-on, fully choreographed shows everyone had the same look or a similar look, and it was really sharp, and then they became really popular, and that's how they broke into the mainstream, which has actually been really good because it's opened up so many opportunities for that wider community to come through. So, and I mean, I loved spending time with them. Like, we'd be in the dressing rooms of like nightclubs and stuff, and just having a whole lot of like throwing shade at each other and giving each other crap, and but all coming together in the end for the common goal of performing together. So yeah.
And those were really, really fun times. It was. And not just Auckland scene as well. Auckland scene was very, very strong back in the days. But also, I think it was the Wellington lot with Carmen.
Yeah.
Oh yes, Auntie Carmen. Yeah.
Yes, with I won't say nanny, but because I'm a different generation. Bloody hell. Yes, Carmen was the pioneer for the Wellington scene.
Carmen and Christine Weetuko,
Yes.
which is Uncle Rick's sister.
Yes.
And yeah, so part of that group there would also take children off the streets. And you didn't necessarily have to be takatapui either. You just had to, if you were on the streets and you were living hard and living rough, they would take you in and you'd work in, I think it was Carmen's cafe. So she'd be getting to make coffees and stuff like that during the day.
Actually, that brings up a good point, because these houses that we have, drag houses, folk houses in the community and all that stuff, they actually came from that. Because back in the days, I'm going back in the days again, but back in the days, some youth that were gay or lesbian or trans were shunned from their families and they became homeless. They actually did. So these drag mothers or these house mothers would come in from out of the street and take them and give them some purpose in life. So and it's not just performing arts or anything like that, like what Mama Nanu said, that they would get jobs, they would actually have a life.
Because that was another thing, is you couldn't get jobs.
Yeah.
If you were of that lifestyle choice, it was really hard to get a job. So they gave them these opportunities to make a living and to learn about what it's like to sit there and save money and things like that. So
basic life skills.
Yeah, basic life skills.
Yeah,
that's right.
And they did it, and they did it really well. And there are so many people that I've met that are part of that legacy that's been left behind by these really amazing pioneers. And they're doing in turn the same thing to those who are down and out. Although like nowadays there is a bit more support, which I'm really grateful for. I'm so glad I'm alive to see that.
Yeah.
To be seeing the shift in people's mindsets that we're just people.
Yeah, exactly. We're human first and foremost.
Fundamentally, it's about justice, basic rights. Love, being able to live.
Everyone
free.
deserves the basic right to live.
We're all human.
Yeah, and it's like we're not. And because you get that thing like, why do you have to have pride? Well, it's because we don't get to celebrate being who we are on a daily basis. There are times when there's an odd look or an odd comment, and it hasn't happened to me for like years now. But I mean, back when I was younger, it was people would stare and things like that, and I wasn't sure why, because I was like, well, I'm over here in my space doing my thing. You're over there in your space doing your thing, and it's got nothing to do with my space. So why are you coming for me? So thankfully the world is, everyone's changing, and it's a little bit safer. It's still not the safest it can be. But pride's about us being us, and you don't have to like it, and that's fine. We're not asking for you to like it. We're not asking for respect. But what I do ask for is the same kind of civility and humanity that I afford you. That's what it's about. You do your thing over there. That's fine. Go do your thing. You want to be disagreeing, you want to be grumpy over there, go be grumpy over there. I'm going to be over here having a good time just being who I am, because I'm happy. And I'm not going to encroach on your space. Don't encroach on mine.
And I just want to say something as well, that I'm very grateful as someone that's in the younger generation to have someone like Nanu and Mama Chanel and all of them, and even Mama Felicia. Like, all of those pioneers actually created this safe space that we've had.
Yeah, they fought, they worked, they walked, a lot of the trans community were thrown in jail simply just for being trans.
Yeah.
Just walking down the road.
Auntie Nahuia Te Kotuku went to America, and she wasn't allowed to get in because she was gay.
Yeah.
So she had to turn around and come home.
Yeah.
That was in the 70s.
Yeah.
And you couldn't get flats.
Yeah.
You couldn't adopt. You couldn't get married.
You couldn't get married, couldn't adopt.
It's only recent. It's not a long time. It's not back in the day. That was just like recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just imagine that, you know, back in the days, people of colour had it rough too.
Yeah, of course.
Then you add on the whole community stuff.
Yeah, and you
Like-
become a minority within a minority.
And it becomes even more harder. And again, like, that's not basic right of living. Like, we all deserve equality when it comes to basic rights.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I just want to touch back base on the story of what's her name going to America and not being accepted in because she was gay.
Yeah.
So as Māoris, also touching on topic, as Māoris and Polynesians had accepted being gay and being a whawha and all of those, so I don't know every single word.
There are many.
That's all right.
Yeah, too many.
There's so many.
My favourite word is ia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that?
Ko au, ko koe, ko ia, he or she.
Yes.
Non-gender specific.
That's I've never heard of that before. That's cool.
We already had non-binary, like,
Yeah.
words back then.
Yeah.
So,
So how come America, even though they're not willing to accept this kind of thing, how come they're so much more willing to celebrate it and make it right for them over there? But what can we do as Māoris in New Zealand to help people out? Like,
I think the
LGBT
biggest thing
community.
for us is we need to uncover those stories, because there were stories about our whānau back in that day. However, during the Tohunga Suppression Act, a lot of that kōrero was taken away from us.
yeah.
Like rongoa and all of that stuff, and who administers rongoa. One kōrero was told to me from a beautiful tutor, Piripi Christie, about, because I basically said, how come I'm the way that I am? And he said what was told to him from one of his koraua or one of his uncles, I can't remember, was that, you know, when a child is being conceived in terms of a Māori lens, you have your whatukura and your mare kura. So whatukura meaning the male essence, mare kura female essence. And he says, and every now and then both of them come down
Yeah.
to bless this child. And then you have feminine men and masculine women, or people who can perform duties that aren't often associated with the binary gender. And he said there was nothing wrong with it, because as long as you know, everyone had a place in our society, as long as you contributed to the wider, you know, to the hapu, to the whānau, to the iwi, all of that stuff. As long as you were an active, contributing member, then there was a place for you anywhere.
And the old people saw that early on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, early on. Sometimes before you were born, they could tell. And then when you were born and you're running around with all your cousins, they're like, yep. there you go,
Exactly,
there you
that's it, yeah. If
And
you went down and you picked up a rākau and started swinging it around, then obviously you're into te whare tūtaua.
Yeah.
Or if you were in the garden, if you had an affinity with plants, or those children that slept during the day and were awake at night, obviously there was navigation and, you know, the realm of rehua and things like that. There was always, and this is why our kōrero was we let our kids break calabashes, because that's how they learn. They're kids. You know, and yet for some reason we've come into this mindset where you don't do that, don't touch that, get off that, leave that alone. Let kids be kids.
yeah.
And I do blame that on colonialism. I do blame that on the white, but the white people coming.
Don't apologise.
And I'll take the sorry back. It's because of the whole Christian belief, Catholic belief, all that stuff. Everything was to the Bible, and then that kind of clashed with our traditions. And then people started choosing, hey, are we going to survive if we go through the biblical way with the missionaries, or are we going to die with our traditions? So I think it was a matter of survival that happened that way. And now it's sad because we've lost a lot of history with that. And just going back to what you said, Mama, like our gender roles, it was roles. So as a takatapu person back in the ancient times, they were just put in places that they were useful in. So if they were useful in war, then they would go to war. If they were useful as gathering, well, they'll stay with the woman.
They could remember the old kōrero, whakapapa, mōtiatia, you know, all of those things. They would look after children. They would often name the children because they understood whakapapa so well. They could then name that child appropriately for the path that they were about to, you know, embark on. So yeah, and like there's a beautiful, is it Kāpai Mahu from Hawaii?
Yes.
There's a little video on YouTube that has it. I think it's on YouTube, or there's which explains the purpose of mahu, which is our takatapui.
Yes.
Basically.
The Hawaiian takatapui.
The healers, you know, matakite, tohunga, all of that stuff in their own right.
Yeah. And also, even going back to our Aotearoa roots, even the story of Penimo and Tūtanikai, there is the main version, but there's also another version of a friend named Tiki. And Tiki was the takatapui friend of Tūtanikai. So people believed Tiki was the male lover of Tūtanikai. So yeah, so that's also part of the history
Oh
of
my gosh.
takatapui as well.
They don't tell you this stuff.
Oh, there's some other kōrero too,
my
like
goodness.
especially around the time of like the colonial settlers. There's an iwi, and I can't even remember where it is, and so I probably shouldn't be mentioning it because I can't reference it properly. But there was a missionary who took a boy lover or a male lover, and the iwi were fine with it.
Yeah.
They celebrated it, they didn't care because this person was still, a member of their whānau was still being looked after and provided for, but then the clergy found out and that person was sent back.
It's where they obviously. So Socrates had a young partner.
Yes, yeah.
But then Alan Turing, who started the computers, he was gay, and they almost forced him to kill himself because of. They said, "Hey, you take this cyanide, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we can cure you."
Yeah.
There was lots of that. I can cure you, like
the
being
therapy.
left-handed.
Yeah.
Yeah, being
really
left-handed,
brilliant.
you were the devil's child.
Yes.
Like I was, one of my teachers used to try and make me write with my right hand, and I couldn't do it. I refused. I was
Wow.
like,
What I don't get is the white. I'm just gonna bring out the color again. The white people overseas. They hated this kind of like in front of everybody, gay, liking other men, women, same sex, cross dressing. Even in sorry to mention this, even in the adult bars, they would have cross dressers in there back in the day too. But behind doors, they love doing that kind of stuff. You see it in pictures all the time.
Yeah.
In like in the mosque, you'll see like male and male kissing or touching or whatever the thing. But then when it comes face to face, they're always like, I don't like that. Prosecution. And
Sexuality is global, it's universal, but we can't talk about it.
Yeah.
We shouldn't talk.
it's like I can do this, but not in front of everyone else.
That's right.
yeah.
And that's where the shame came through, and
Yeah.
it's the self-guilt that then filtered through generations of people who have been like, no, you can't do that because it's bad or it's evil. It's just like, no. Even this debate about, same-sex couples having children or adopting children. Like I was asked if I wanted to have children. I said, no, I don't want to have children, but I will take other people's children who don't want them.
Sure.
Because that's what it's about. It's about, the whole concept of whāngai and stuff is, I may not necessarily want to bring children into the world, but there are already children in the world who don't have families. So why, we can do that. We can provide them a space that's safe, stuff. And then don't get started on drag queens and libraries.
Oh God. Yeah.
So I just want to also ask you guys, what is the best way to approach someone from the LGBT community, whether it's they're curious or going through the same things that you guys did, or they're just trying to be funny without stepping on toes?
What do you
of
mean?
course.
With the people that are really genuinely interested in learning more, or trolls?
Trolls.
So how do you confront trolls?
How do you confront trolls?
How do you confront trolls?
Or
I tend not to.
Okay.
I
Me
don't
neither.
know.
I don't do it. I just turn around and be like, well, I'm just gonna live how I live, and that's probably gonna hurt you more than my words. So
that's pretty good.
it's just being who you are. We don't really give time to any like trolls or anything like that.
I mean, when I was younger, I was massively reactive, so I probably, I'd be like, it would get to the point of violence and stuff. But now that I'm a little bit more seasoned, it's just I don't have the energy.
Yeah.
I don't have the energy. I've got energy to spend on being positive and being a positive role model for those who may wish to be in the space safely, or even just for my the mahi that I do in the social service sector. And I've presented to lots of whānau in groups and stuff and there's never been a question about who I am or what I am, because what I'm there to do is do my mahi. I go there, I do my mahi, we get it done, we help them, and then we walk out. There's no pretense about anything, there's no
What are
concern.
some of the biggest questions you find whānau asking?
In terms of LGBT or pronouns.
Yeah,
What's pronouns?
Yeah.
well,
And I'm like, well, they're just, they're what? like my pronouns are she, her, ia. Yours are she and her. You would be he, him.
Do you feel at all uncomfortable when someone asks you that? Like, cause
No, I think it's pretty best to ask people if you don't know, because especially when you have our non-binary whānau, and our non-gender conforming whānau, because they often use they them, and to be, you know, to think, oh, he's over there, you know, and it's misgendering, which can be that's probably even more embarrassing or uncomfortable than saying, hey, what are your pronouns? Or even to make it better, say, I'm so and so, my pronouns are such and such, you? Because it opens up that conversation for them to sit there and actually say, rather than, what are your pronouns, just in case I get it wrong.
What if someone accidentally just says, what's up, bro, or hey, sis, and those are not the pronouns you're going for? How do you approach that?
I think for me, if they do that, well, it's an accident. They would probably realise they've misgendered or
I tell them.
pronouns and stuff, and then I
have.
Oh,
like,
yes.
I mean, but I've got mates who say bro anyway to everyone.
Yeah.
They use it for for all genders, like che bro and stuff, and I'm like,
It matters in context.
Don't do that. Or they'll look at me and go, sorry sis.
Yeah.
Sorry sis.
Yeah, exactly. Because most of the time they'll just be like, oh, sorry, like, and for me, I'm just like, oh yeah, well, you know better.
What actually happened? We had an incident in Mahi where it happened, and one of our tutors was delivering one of our courses, and she misgendered me, and so I waited for the class to finish, and then I had a kōrero with her and said, no, this is what it is, this is what I'm about, and just respectfully, if we could, you know, get that. She said she apologised, and then she did it again.
Oh, weird.
And I was like,
she probably did it by accident again, unless she.
But I mean, it's a process, right? Like, just as much as you coming to terms with who you are, that's a process. So for her, it was a process, and then she did it a third time, and I corrected her in front of everyone. Yeah. I said, if we're going to have this conversation, I'm going to start calling you George.
Yeah. Exactly, and
you know, and then she's like, I'm so sorry, I'm trying. I said, that's okay. But if you ever get to that point where it's going to hit that point, just know that that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Until, you know, I get it, it's a journey. It was a journey for me, it's a journey for everyone. Yeah. But can you hurry up on that journey, please?
Well, and that's the most respectful way to actually correct.
And now she's fine. She's absolutely fine, and it's been great to sort of be in that space with her and to share space where she's never encountered this before. She's never encountered this world. And, you know, awesomely at Mahi, we have a very diverse range of people. So we have rainbow whānau in our Mahi, which is great. Yeah. Because then everyone's learning. I mean, and we also have like very staunch Christian and religious whānau in our establishment, and they're great too. Because the thing is, our Mahi is our Mahi. Yeah. Who we are at home is who we are at home. Yeah. Exactly. You know, and we bring our personalities, we bring our mauri, we bring all of that stuff, but we do our Mahi. Yeah. And then whatever happens when we're home is whatever happens when we're home. We may disagree on certain things, but it's never a battle about I'm right and you're wrong. It's just like, yeah, cool, that's your thing.
I think that's what I like, that Pride Week has shown me the diversity, especially globally. It's not just the whānau in my neighbourhood, it's whānau across the world who enjoy.
Yeah, and it's funny because, to be honest, I think the most hardest people to get used to your pronouns when you come out is your family.
Oh, absolutely.
Your family is the one, because they've known you since you were born, and they've known you as this gender. And once you have fully come out and being who you are, it takes time for that. Well, personally, my grandmother, beautiful lady, Nini Emma, she's a blue blood in Ngāti Porou, but she's a beautiful grandmother. Yet she always accidentally gives me different the male pronoun, but only by accident, because she just knew me since I was little and she took care of me when I was little. So I give forgiveness for my family, but when it comes to like a stranger or a friend and stuff, I'll exactly do what Mama Nani would do. Be like, hey, this is my pronouns, and if you do it again,
I did it to my auntie.
Yes.
Because like we recently lost my mum, and so I Poroi sang, and she said, oh, my darling, I've recorded you singing your song to your mum, and I played it to my work. I said, oh, she's so stunning, and my auntie was like, that's not a she. And I said, auntie, I love you and I respect you so much, But until we get this right, we're probably not going to have a conversation anymore.
Yeah.
She hasn't spoken to me since, and that's okay because I'm leaving that with her.
Yeah.
That's part of her journey to get through, and it's like I still love her and I think she's amazing. But it's just like I had to kind of pull it then.
Yeah.
So it's like no, I'm in my 40s now.
You're still young.
I've done the yards. I've done the yards.
So I've been seeing a lot of RuPaul's Drag Race, and I know RuPaul is like the face of drag for the LGBT community. What I personally think. Do ladies have any inspirations while on your journey as well?
Activists, like you mentioned, come.
Yeah, definitely Auntie
Bai.
Carmen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Carmen.
definitely Auntie Georgina. Chanel Da Vinci, Cola, like all the sisters from Auckland, Collagen, Chichi Lacroix, they're the old, buckwheat.
Yeah, Auntie Felicia.
Yeah, Felicia Brown Acton. Who else did we know at that time? Mama Tere. Goodness,
Yeah.
can't forget her, otherwise the community will turn on me.
Did any of them? You know how RuPaul came to New Zealand and did a show. Did any of them go on the show?
No.
No,
No.
because RuPaul's Drag Race actually was a recent thing, and these people that we're talking about, they're back in the 70s.
Well, I mean, they're still good because they're still performing, they're still there. And in my opinion, they're still some of the best performers in that space that you will ever find that this country has. And no shade to the new girls and stuff that are coming up, but they worked hard. Like Mother Chanel, she creates her own looks, she makes her own wigs, she cuts her own music, she does her own styling, all of that stuff. Because that was her bread and butter, whereas now a lot of them are sort of like putting on a dress and putting on a face and a wig and kind of like pointing to music and stuff, which is beautiful for that, and all love and power for that. But when you see, I go to her house and like she's working on creating all these amazing outfits for people and her own, because she couldn't afford to do it, so she found out how to make it and then made it easier.
Yeah.
And made it work for her. That's dedication. That's art. Yeah. Dedication's an art form. RuPaul has brought drag to mainstream. Yeah. What does that mean? What does that look like? That means that now everyone has to step up because there's this preconceived idea that you all had to look like that.
Yeah.
Oh.
But not all drag looks like that.
No, it doesn't.
Sometimes it's dark, sometimes it's ugly, sometimes it's really challenging and provocative and stuff, but this creates a thing that everything has to have like this pretty lens on it.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to tell your story that doesn't necessarily isn't pretty, how do you do that?
Yeah, because drag is first and foremost art. It's art, living art. It's
dressed as a girl.
Dressed as a woman.
Dressed as a girl, drag. D-R-A-G. Which is actually from Shakespeare, when men used to dress as women.
Yes.
Oh, really?
That's right. Yes.
Because women couldn't perform in Shakespeare.
It's
Wow. It goes all the way back.
Oh, yeah, even further.
Wow.
Yeah.
Way before they started.
And, I mean, I love the comments, everyone's like, drag queens are just trying to be women. No, they're taking the concept of beauty and pageantry and they're multiplying it by a million.
Yeah.
So they're not trying to be women, they're being that feminine concept magnified by 1,000.
Personas say what they feel like in the personas.
It's an entertainment thing. It's not about, no one's coming to steal your gender identity.
Yeah.
That's not what's happening in drag.
Yeah.
And drag queens and libraries, it's no different to sitting on Santa Claus's knee at Christmas and I was going to say Deca, which is going to show my age, in the mall.
The more now,
Yeah, sitting on Santa's knee in the mall. I mean, we don't know have they done police feeding on Santa?
No, they don't.
But they'll happily then put a child on his knee and then you get the photos and all the kids are crying.
Speaking of
Oh
police,
my goodness.
being gay in the police force and in the military, you have a whakaro on that?
Awesome, I think it's awesome. I think it's about
That's good.
bloody time.
Yeah.
Sorry. We know it happened in the military. We know it happened in the police force. It was just never spoken about. So it's good that it's now in a space where they can be themselves. I mean, there's always going to be stigma. There will always be stigma because there will always be people out there who don't agree. And that's fine. But no one's going anywhere. They're still going to be there, still going to be doing their thing, still saving lives and protecting people and doing their mahi. That's what it is. It's not about trying to be that stuff.
Yeah.
It's just about getting there, doing the mahi and being, they're okay, they're them.
Yeah. Well, from what I've been hearing, you guys in the LGBT community have a lot of talent. Like, I know on this table right now, you guys have talent. you guys have talent, but
I mean, no.
Well, we don't like to brag, but
No, I mean, and it's just doing what you're good at. I mean, like it's a way to express ourselves, especially as singers and vocalists.
yeah.
So what advice would you give to rangatai based on like experience and your journey?
In terms of
so Aotearoa, too staunch or too conservative. So coming out in Vegas is next to impossible.
Yeah,
I had a lot of friends who didn't come out here, they went to Auckland,
Yeah.
Christchurch.
Yeah.
What would you give, what kind of advice would you give to rangatai today?
remember, it's a journey. It is a journey. It's not an easy journey for anyone. And while you're going through it, be kind to yourself, be gentle to yourself, because there's 1,000 people out there who have 1,000 words to be mean to you, to try and bring you down. So if you can be kind to yourself and find people that you can, find your tribe, and you will eventually find your tribe.
Yeah.
And there is no time, there is no right time to come out, and you don't have to. I can't wait for the day you don't have to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
It's just like, they're just here, that's them. That's their boyfriend or their girlfriend or they're they, them,
Yeah.
It's the he days and the she days. Good, go for it. Be happy, be safe, and look after each other. That's the main thing. But if you're looking for help, and, we're pretty notable people in town.
Yeah.
But, always open for a kōrero and stuff. Always got the jug on.
Yeah. And what about the parents and their whānau as well? So their little child or their teenager I wouldn't say child, I'll say teenager, just came out and discovered they were gay or they were
at the table,
in the spirit.
just going to have dinner. And by the way,
now how would
Because
you
that's how game these little babies in rangatahi are now. They're like, oh, by the way, this is how I am. And just to the whānau, that just as much as it's a journey for that individual, it's a journey for you as well. And as long as we keep open these lines of communication, like I thank my dad for that, because I asked him everything all the time when I was being bullied and stuff, and he didn't always have the answers, but he allowed me the space to talk and to ask, and be like, I don't actually know, but I love you. You're my baby. You're the youngest of my lot, and I love you. And as long as you don't hurt yourself or anyone else, that's all I need.
Yeah.
That's all I need from you. And that was it for me. And just as long as we keep these lines of communication open between our parents and our children, because that's the most important thing, so that when things go wrong, they can be there. Or even if you don't understand, like there's websites that you can look at. Like Rainbow Youth is a fantastic site. It has stuff for whānau, just to help you get used to what's going on, what's happening, or what could possibly happen with this person's life. Because then we're not having children who are hiding who they are, who are then turning to drugs and sexual, like to try and feel something, and it's all hidden. You become a little bit, you're in a space where you're safe to be who you are and to make those questions, and then you become a lot more adjusted to that moment when you're moving through it and that journey, and your whānau's there with you as well, which is awesome.
And as a parent, as a whānau, you wouldn't want to force ideas onto the child or the teenager as well.
I think
be soft on them.
just like I put it about, mai rāno, i te ao tawhito, you allowed the children to find their way.
Yeah.
And then you were just there to sort of guide them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And pick them up if they fall, because they're still your babies. Love your babies, people.
Yeah, no matter
Love
what.
your babies.
No matter what.
Any advice from you, though?
I think from my own experiences, because I do have loving parents. And
You do.
Yeah, they're the most supportive parents that a takatapui individual would ever have, because they let me flourish in whatever I wanted to do. And even my journey from becoming me as a trans woman, they were there every step of the way. And yes, of course, there's going to be a bit of friction that happens. Because I did have a little bit of friction with my dad when I was transitioning, but he's learnt to just accept me for who I am, and he loves me just the same.
It's love.
Yeah, it's love.
Love is unconditional. It asks no questions. It just offers.
Yeah, love is love.
Love is a verb. It's an action.
Yes, exactly.
It's not a describing word.
Yeah, and my advice to these kids in whānau and stuff is, like what Mama Nanus says, be open-minded. Be supportive of your child. Don't put ideas in their head, because again, they might be having a moment and they probably will go different ways. We don't know, because my parents didn't know I was transgender until I actually came out as transgender. They just thought I was gay. So again, but it was a good thing, because they just let me do whatever, really. So yeah, just be open. Love is love.
And also ask questions, Vano.
Ask
questions, because they may not know what they're going through.
Yeah.
And it may just be a phase. That might be part of their journey to find the other part of the destination. We don't know. But as long as we keep talking to our kids and keep making sure that they know that they can come to you with anything, no matter how. And if you don't know the answer, you don't know the answer. Yeah. And that's okay, as long as you're just there to sitting over, look, let's find out together. Let's do it together.
Yeah, it's good advice.
All right, we're gonna shut off for now tonight, guys. Thank you so much again. You ladies have been amazing. Sorry, I use guys as a
No, we get it.
Right.
Teach them.
Teach me. But yeah, thank you so much, and hope everybody learnt a lot tonight in the live as well. And
I know it did. So next week we have coming up on TaniwhaTV the Māori electoral option.
Yes.
So are you registered to vote? Are you registered to vote, Father? Are we registered to vote?
Registered to vote.
Absolutely.
General roll or Māori roll?
Māori roll.
Yes.
Māori.
So
Māori.
Next week, Te Mauri Kingi will be coming in to talk about the Māori electoral option, why it's important to vote, and the upcoming election on October the 14th. So we're going to talk in politics.
October the
politics.
14th. That's one day before my birthday.
Yes.
That's the day of my birthday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you
Live
guys
around
are
the
one day
house.
apart.
A birthday for your birthday, you get to vote.
We are the best people, sorry. Libans are the best people.
So yeah. So hopefully you guys enjoyed tonight.
Thanks for being there with us.
Yeah,
Kia
thank you
haumari
guys.
koutou.
Yep. Ka kite anō, guys.
Nice.
Pō mana hau.
Pūmare.
Pūmare.
Bye.